Hi everyone, this is Ahmed Adbasi. I'm a PhD student at Wake Forest University School of Law in North Carolina. Today I'm going to discuss the growth and development of intellectual property rights laws in Saudi Arabia. Concerning Saudi Arabia history with intellectual property and how the intellectual property developed throughout the recent decades. In 1982, Saudi Arabia joined World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO. This organization is one of the 17 specialized agencies of the United Nations to encourage creative activity and to promote protection of intellectual property throughout the world. Uh, also, in the same year, Saudi Arabia issued the law of printed materials and publication. This law focuses on literacy and artwork of either Saudi citizens and legal residents of Saudi Arabia. This also law has been renewed in 2000. The Ministry of Information was given the right to prohibit any sort of violation against intellectual property rights. Uh, it was also given the ability to issue legal binding decisions for reimbursement against any misconducts. Uh, Also, the Ministry of Information in 1989, with a royal decree, stated clearly that authors and innovators, creator of artworks and literacy in any sort, the ministry should give them the full protection from any type of violation, with the concentration of their right of ownership and their discretion to conduct any kind of act with regards to their innovation. It also states clearly authors' rights to transfer their ownership right to their inheritors or whomever they wish to assign the right. In 1989, the Saudi Arabia issued the copyright law, and it was also renewed in 2005. This law uh, focus on the copyright issues. Its its jurisdiction applies over the residents of Saudi Arabia and Saudis who live outside the country during their life, and they enjoy the right for also 50 years after their deaths, in terms of transferring their rights to their inheritors. This law imposes financial sanctions against any violation of authors' rights. It also illustrates that authors may pursue for financial and moral harms occurred as a result of others' infringement of their work. They can seek to close the institution violating their rights for a period of 90 days, in addition to some financial reimbursements, with the rights to destroy any illegal copies and materials used by the violators. It is worth mentioning the official institutions that are in charge of intellectual property. First of all is the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. This ministry uh, is in charge of protecting the trademarks and all relevant issues with commerce. And the second institution is the Saudi Patent Office, SPO. It is part of the King Abdulaziz City for Science and Technology, which is in charge of the patent law. Any sort of patent would be this institution would be in charge of patent. The third institution is the Ministry of Culture and Information, which is focusing mainly on the copyrights and all relevant issues with regards to the copyrights. This system was active just about 2 weeks ago. And after in March 27, which is last week or 2 weeks ago, the government issued a new authority in charge of intellectual property. So this authority is called Intellectual Property Authority, would now be the official authority in charge of all intellectual property matters. And the three institutions I mentioned earlier would now not be in charge of any sort of intellectual property issues, and this authority will replace the previous institutions in terms of focusing on the intellectual property. This authority was adopted because of the reason to provide a new convenient environment to protect inventors and investors, so they would be able and be interested in investing in intellectual property issues and to develop the economy of the Saudi Arabia. However, the system of intellectual property in Saudi Arabia is not that compelling for inventors, and there are some suggestions that I included in my paper for the Saudi legal system officials in order to develop the intellectual property system. First of all is to include the protection of authors' rights that are stated in all UNESCO and Paris Agreement members. Also, to include technological works as an artwork that requires more protection, especially with the development of technology. The third one is to increase the punishment and financial sanction against violators of copyrights. The fourth suggestion is to announce violators in the public media in order to avoid such violation. Also, considering decryption of technological work as a violation of copyrights. Another point is to increase the period of protection of audio and video materials to be 60 years instead of 50 years. Also, to implement a seizure against materials being infringed. My final suggestion in this presentation is to present any violators since the Saudi Arabia economy is losing over $1 billion in a yearly basis as a result of decryption of of technological materials. So a president would be the presenting violators would be a good practice to prevent such violation. This is the end of my presentation, and I would be happy to receive any concerns or questions with regards to my paper. And I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you so much.